infrastructure window, I beg your pardon, then the integration and adjustment window, industrial development window, and the social development window. The specific objectives of the fund, we have them highlighted in the memorandum which we have submitted to your committee chair, which among others is to promote regional economic integration through supporting projects that enhance economic cooperation and the connectivity among SADC member countries. Also to support industrial development finance of industrialization initiatives, regional value chains, and manufacturing sectors. So we have them up to about eight of them, Honorable Chair. I don't know, maybe I can just skip mention those few which I've mentioned, among others. Of course, issues of agriculture and the like, they are all included in there. Now, why would really Zambia be interested in ratifying this authorization of this fund? Well, of course, the chair of your committee, I think, is already aware. You are not going to coerce if you are not aware of the fact that Cabinet already approved the Zambia ratifying this fund. Yes, so what we signed, we need to ratify now, so that once the necessary threshold is reached by the member states, then the fund can be operationalized. So far, what the information we have is that only Angola, the Republic of Angola, is the only one which has ratified so far. Zambia is in the next in terms of advanced stage in the process of ratifying. Then another about 5 or so other member countries are in the process of doing the ratification. So why would we want to have this fund ratified? Your Honour members, the government has to raise finance to promote development. In short, development finance, to invest into regional projects, as we mentioned already, those which will help make the country, trigger the competitiveness of the country, able to access other markets in the region, and the like. So as long as we have a development agenda, we really need financing for development. And therefore we see this fund as providing another avenue where the government of the country can mobilize resources to finance its development. As the honourable members of this committee are aware, in the recent past few weeks or so, we've witnessed some geopolitical movements or or some sort of evolution where some of our cooperating partners are cutting down on finance support. Therefore, we really need to rely more and more on ourselves if we are to succeed in our development agenda. So, really, honourable members, the ramifications, if it were to use that word, it's not negative at all. It's a very positive ramification for us joining this, and all we can do really, if we can urge other member countries to speed up the process and get this fund up and running and start leveraging on it to finance our development agenda. There are some projects which you think you could be early candidates for once that financing becomes available. Prongo Harbour Port Development Project Modernization to modernize that harbour. The 3,000 kV Solwezi-Kolwezi Power Interconnection Project. The 400 kV Zambia-Mozambique Multinational Power Interconnection Project. And the Batoka Gorge Electricity Project, which we are supposed to do with our southern neighbor. And therefore, really, I think, as I've already indicated, honourable members, as a ministry, we are in full support of ratifying this agreement. I think I can skip some of the issues. I think it's already given. I'll just go to the conclusion and say that in view of the foregoing, ratifying the SADC Regional Development Fund presents Zambia with significant opportunities for economic development, particularly in financing infrastructure development, boosting industrialization, and expanding trade. Lastly, the Ministry would like to thank the committee once more for availing us this opportunity to make our submission Thank you, Chair.
Permanent Secretary, I want to sincerely thank you for that submission. And now it's the time for the honorable members to ask questions or indeed points of clarifications. Honorable members, Honorable Mungandu begins, followed by Honorable Sialubalo.
PS, you've just given examples of what this fund can do. Mpulungu Haba, 300 kV Kolwezi interconnector, Zambia, Mozambique, Batoka, Gorge, among others. PS, this country is grappling with a huge debt. Taking into account that this is not the only international project financing instrument which this country has ratified. We just ratified Africa 50 Articles of Association. We also just ratified the International Financing Organization that is also based in Morocco. Don't you think, looking at the debt situation, and this financing arrangement will also come not as a grant, in spite of us contributing, we are to some extent going to borrow? Don't you think this will just increase the debt situation? What is the benefit in terms of the country owing such a financing arrangement? Then in the second last point, I know such arrangements, Chair, come with tax exemptions in whatever they do. Do you think that will have an impact in the national financial system? If yes, how do you think this country is going to mitigate that? I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for those two questions. Two questions, PS. Keep a tab on the two. One, so many ratifications, and two, on the tax exemptions. Honorable Sialubalo.
Chair, thank you so much, and the witness, I would like to thank you for your submission. Chair, in line with what Honorable Mungando slide is a point of clarification, particularly on debt. Our current situation is a nation where we are really debt burden, and the efforts are being made to restructure the debt and also repayment of the same debt. Now, we are finding ourselves again in a situation where, through ratification, we are supposed to pay about $45 million in 5 years. Don't we see ourselves defaulting in terms of these subscriptions, taking into account the stock that we have in terms of debt repayment? Don't we say, are we really, can we galvanize enough resources as a nation to pay the debt that we have already accrued, and also meet these subscriptions, annual subscription? Have we reached that stage where we can say, yes, we are comfortable, we can manage everything? I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sialubalo, for that important question. Permanent Secretary, you may respond. And you are at liberty to ask any one of your members in your team to help you respond to questions that you feel can be handled by such a member.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for these questions. Maybe starting with maybe a general comment which I should make, again, to emphasize the point which I made earlier on. For the country to develop, we have no choice but to provide financing for that development. For railways, roads, electricity, power, all these come with financing. But only that, perhaps we have to ensure that those projects, the way we finance them, they pay back in terms of the social economic benefits. There are those direct monetary rewards and those which are also social to the citizens. I mean, we have projects like the Tazara Railway line. For sure, we are not regretting that we put up such an infrastructure which opened our northern region, our northern hinterland. We have other projects, the electricity generation plant, which we put up dotted around the country. All those need financing. And how have been financing? Some of them we've been financing them by borrowing money from others who also have a need for their monies in order to finance their own development. So really, it's something where we wouldn't say we have a choice. It's costly. We can't do this or that. But as a country, really a country of Zambia's size, 752,000 square kilometers, and the population of roughly 20 million, and a lot of resource endowment, which we have under the ground, water and the like. With this money, we should be able to mobilize, and we should be able to mobilize this money and have this bank come on board and help us borrow to do certain projects. I would really emphasize, if I had my way, to really focus, prioritize on energy projects, so that we are producing enough power to power the industry. So coming to the specific questions, really, for say the question from the Honourable Minister, MOP, from Siavonga, will we be able to?
Not Siavonga?
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Sinazongwe.
Okay. Will we be able to raise monies to meet these annual prescriptions? We should be able to, if we really resolve as a country that we need to do this. Because what is the other option which we have? Because the other option is doing nothing, and doing nothing will make our economic situations, our socio-economic situation worse. All countries borrow, even the developed countries themselves. One time I was looking at some statistics, you will find that big economy, industrialized countries, their debt to GDP ratio is over 100%. Literally, over 100%. It's only that those countries, their productive capacities are very high, are very enhanced, and they're able to generate those streams of income. And we also should be able to, from agriculture sector, tourism sector, the mining sector, which seems to be very promising. What the information we are able to gather, or the meetings we are having is with certain prospective investors, really point to the issue that we stand a very, very good chance to really enhance only the mining, which will give the economy the catalyst, the catalytic effect it needs to forge ahead. The honourable member from Honourable Mungandu, also I think you're almost on the same, it's the same principle really, and we are going to borrow until this increase the country's debt situation. Well, we are preparing this debt to finance development again, if we were to do that. If we were to take it in merely consumption, yes, that will not be a very viable strategy. But if we are taking into financing projects, programs which will give us a revenue stream, income stream, increase our productive base in the country. With an increase the productive base, our tax revenue also go up. So this shouldn't be a hindrance. We should be able to, it shouldn't push us into a debt situation really. It's the way we do the planning, organize ourselves, what do we need. Tax exemptions, won't this have an impact on the finance? Well, this is a financial institution which may not necessarily be domiciled here. We will be able to borrow from it as a member country, as a founding member country, for our own projects, depending. The tax incentives, some of them we give them as a Ministry of Commerce. We help out on those companies which come to invest in certain strategic areas, certain strategic sectors, which is very impactful on economic growth. So again, there's a trade-off which we have to do, cost-benefit analysis for the country. But really, as I said earlier on, members, As long as we do our due diligence, as long as we do our homework properly, this shouldn't be a problem. Zambia's debt. We have many other instruments to borrow from. Honourable members, if you are diversified, the better off you are in terms of sources of financing. There we are now, whereas some financing is being reduced from our cooperating partners because of this and that and that. So if we don't have other places to run to, we may get into some serious trouble. But we have this fund, an additional fund to other funds which we have, the better off we are really. There is this question in who would help us, where we can tap in to finance our development. Honourable members, this is, I think for now, my submission to the questions already raised.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Maybe just a rider before I ask any other members to ask you a question. The question by Honorable Sialuvalo on the $45.5 million that we are going to be made to pay in the next 5 years. He showed or expressed concern. How are we going to raise these funds? In your response, I heard you mentioned that our country is indeed endowed with a lot of natural resources, the water bodies, and of course, the mineral wealth. My question or my concern to you, Permanent Secretary, is, yes, we are endowed with all these natural resources as a country, but are you aware that whilst we are endowed with these natural resources, the government has also taken a stance, just like the question on the taxes, to give incentives to these investors in terms of concessions? How are we going to raise the monies from our mineral wealth if there are concessions in place that government has placed on the minerals? Maybe you may just help this committee to have a clear-cut answer or response on the same. Before you respond, allow me to welcome our chairperson, and I will ask her to introduce herself.
Good morning, Vice Chair, and good morning, honorable members. Good morning to our witness. My name is Weso Kakoma Sefolo, a member of Parliament for Mandi constituency in the Western Province and the substantive chair of the committee. My apologies for coming in late. We're just having another meeting with the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, chairperson. With your permission, may I continue? Please, Honorable Mungando, before you answer that rider, Honorable Mungando was a rider also.
Chair, my rider is a build-up on what you had just intimated. P.S. You've correctly stated that this country is endowed with the vast natural resources. You mentioned of minerals. It is believed that wherever you step in this country, there are minerals. Just in Matero, a woman borrowed a hoe. The next, it was mining taking place. And our geologists have told us, or metallurgists, that actually there is even iron there. But look at the steel that we are importing from China. Universal Mining is also producing. We have gold literally everywhere. In Chama, where I come from, Kanyerere, they have started mining. They are Chinese there. In Chifunda, there's gold they are mining. Here. Kasensedi, there's gold. You go to Mpika, there's gold. We have lithium in Mapatizia. Go to Lwapula, we have manganese. In the northwestern, there are more mines being opened up. Why should we insist on borrowing when we can tap into these resources that foreigners are simply taking away? P.S. Just a few days ago, a certain man, who I believe really loves this government, is stating the truth of what is happening on the Copper Belt, that Zambians are not getting what they are supposed to be getting from the mining sector. What I want to find out from you is, don't you think we should first ensure that we get the best from these natural resources before we even start thinking of borrowing? So that if ultimately, if possible, we should be the owners of such arrangements. For the benefit of our country, we should be the highest maybe shareholders, so that we even call the shots. Don't you think as a nation we should be moving in that direction? I submit here.
Thank you very much for that question, Honorable Mungandu. PS, those two concerns, a rider and Honorable Mungandu's concern, please take care of them as I ask the chairperson to come and take position of the chair.
Yeah.
Thank you very much once more, Chair.
Please, you can go ahead and take those. Thank you.
Perhaps I should start with Honorable Mungandu's concern first. For a natural resource to produce value, or to provide value, there has to be some requisite investments which have to be done. These include of course financing to get going, and also certain skills or intangible assets, as some people would put it, you know. And we think that if it was an equation, perhaps where this equation is short is the part of the resources are there, only the resource part, the resource endowment, but on the issue of the asset, the skill which we need to convert these resources into useful assets, useful products, this is where we fall short. But again, we can't really wait to say until we develop these skills, until we are able to mobilize our own money to be able to finance this. We wait forever, and the world will not be really willing to wait for us. We have gone into a new era now, a new era of green growth, where our resources again, they will become so valuable because we need to produce, we need to go into products that are environmentally friendly. We talk of the critical raw materials which we need to produce electric vehicles which help us fight the environment. So all those again, and it requires that kind of investment in know-how. Perhaps as maybe the deliberate effort which we really need to do as these investors come in, we ensure that maybe we don't just get some financial benefits, dollars and cents, but we really also get the knowledge acquisition really. There was someone who was talking about why certain empowerment programs in many African countries seem not to have been so effective. The part which was missing, the government would provide the money, would give for people to run businesses, do this or that, but because of that knowledge gap, that money is not put to proper use and just goes down the drain, and these citizens still want to come back for government to give them some more money. So therefore we can't really run away from having other people to come to work with us. That has happened. That has happened to other countries which have developed, and is still happening even to countries which are developing. You find countries from one developed country going to invest in another developed country. But what we really need are deliberate efforts to ensure that we maximize on the mutual benefits for both parties which are involved in certain industrial activities or a project or investment activity. Regarding the issues of we are offering tax incentives to investors, or wanted to deny the government the much needed revenues which it needs to again finance investment in development. Well, yes, our ministry, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, in working hand in hand with the Ministry of Finance, yes, we are responsible for approving or granting incentives. But this is, the incentives are only granted after a due process has been undertaken to see how much the country would benefit or what the country will lose out, such that when we reach a conclusion that actually the country will benefit more by granting these incentives to the investor who should come and invest, when we reach a logical conclusion that yes, this company, this investment deserves to be granted incentives. So it's not just done haphazardly. There are some due processes which we follow to ensure that the country does not necessarily lose out. I don't know, maybe I can ask one of my directors who would want to add on to what I've said, Chair.
Thank you so much, PS. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Maybe just to add a few things. I think there's an issue of Zambia's debt burden. Should we be borrowing? We are not creating this fund for immediate borrowing. This fund obviously would take a few years to be able to be fully operational. And when we create a fund, it does not mean that immediately Zambia needs to borrow money, but we have a structure that will give us flexibility whenever we are free to, whenever we have capacity to borrow, we can go and borrow. Remember that Zambia has been instrumental in creation of key multilateral or development finance institutions like AfriExim, the African Development Bank, the African Development Bank itself, and the African Development Bank. Within the bank itself, there are different windows, of which there is actually a window which is the Africa Development Finance, which is completely the Africa Development Fund, which is a grant window. Now, there was an issue of tax exemptions. As the PS indicated, the only impact will be felt by the country where this fund is going to be hosted. If it will be hosted, say, in Zimbabwe, the standard procedure or standard practice that when a fund of that nature is established, the management and everyone else who works in the fund will have these tax exemptions. So it's standard for ADB. It's the same, the World Bank and everyone else. So the only impact will be in that country where this fund will be hosted. And I think there was also an issue of the tax incentives. Like the PS indicated, when you interact with investors, one of the key factors that still remains as a key driver to investment is tax incentives. Now, we also believe from the Ministry of Commerce perspective that you can't lose what you don't have. So incentives, if you are looking at, we are talking about brownfield investments, then yes, there will be taxes that you lose. But if you are looking at greenfield investments, you can't say you lose revenue when it's not there. So, but if you are going to give incentives to these people that are coming, and they already agreed standard incentives, when you give them, then there will be, that company will establish, they will start producing, there will be linkages, there will be other benefits that will accrue to the economy than the initial taxes that we thought would benefit. And these incentives are never in perpetuity. They will be there maybe for 5 years or so. After that 5 years, the country starts benefiting from the normal incentives. But in the meantime, that company would not have maybe invested if those incentives were not granted. So I thought I'd just add those things, Honorable Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Salva.
Chair, it's just I just want the witness to allay fears. You know very well, witness, that we had the Eurobond, which I know the usage. Not all Zambians know exactly what happened to those resources. Again, that is another window of where we could get the money. Now we're going into this SADC. Is it SADC 50? Yes, SADC 50.
No. This is a
regional fund. Sorry, regional development fund. We have the ADB. We know what happened to ADB. what measures do you think we could apply to this initiative of the SADC region, such that it is not abused by its member states? Maybe there's something that we can suggest, which we should put in our report, that such measures should be taken so that member states shouldn't abuse the way it has happened to ADB before.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Selbel. Is there any other member who has a follow-up question? Honorable Fonchanga, logged in online. Is there any question or no? Okay, I see now.
Actually, I don't have any question.
Okay, thank you so very much. With that being said, you can take our final question.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to believe that the African Development Banking is actually doing quite well, and it has been one of our major development partner. And perhaps what we could say is even this fund, this regional SADC Regional Development Fund, it could actually take a leaf from how the ADB is being run. And what I've come across, not that I know so much about all the nitty-gritties, the bolts and nuts which will go into this fund once established, our central banks are involved in the creation or in the setting up this bank the way it should run, and many others who are experts in the financial area, financial sector, which should really give us comfort that there will not be abuse, unnecessary abuse in its operations. It is a SADC, so which means it will be mostly confined to our region. The African Development Bank is continental, and there it is really is doing well, I think, in my view. We've had it for a long time, and it's still continuing, and then it's having a few, what would I put it? Only the trade part. There's another continental bank called the African Export and Import Bank, which is headquartered in Cairo, and is really helping out in terms of trade financing for our traders. Even one of members here, if you have export orders or here and there, or even import, that bank is there ready to facilitate. So we need all these financial platforms, financial instruments, which various players in the economy, various sectors in the economy can actually benefit. We find that certain financial institutions, their facility is only focused on this sector or in this product, another one in this and that, but then it gives us a choice really as to where we can access this financing for projects, for development financing, and many others. So I would really like to believe that our financial gurus will really put in place all the safeguard measures to ensure that this bank will deliver. I mean, this fund, once established, it will deliver on its stated objectives. Okay, Director here would want to add on something.
Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So just to add on to what the PS has indicated, the African Development Bank is actually working closely with the SADC Secretariat in the operationalization of this fund. And we are learning quite a lot from the way the bank is operating. I'm not sure if the ADB has ever been abused by member states. Actually, they have quite stringent rules even in terms of borrowing. The chances of abuse are very minimal, and we are hoping that similar arrangements will be put in place when it comes to this fund. I submit.
Thank you so very much, Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, for appearing before this committee and being candid with us. Our interaction today is going to help us as we come with the final report on the operationalization of the SADC Regional Development Fund. With that being said, kindly allow me, before I let you go, to withdraw the earlier immunity that was conferred on you by the Vice Chair, so that you can enjoy the greater immunity that you have out there as a Zambian citizen. With that being said, thank you so much for coming. From now on, you are on your own. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for this opportunity.
When I like
Well, thank you so much for being with us on Parliament Television. This is where we come to the end of today's live parliamentary committee, and this is the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters, receiving submissions from various stakeholders. Earlier on, we had the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, the Permanent Secretary, appearing before this committee and making submission on the consideration of the operationalization of the Southern African Development Community, SADC Regional Development Fund. And we concluded the day with the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Commerce, Trade. My name is Paul Sentindov on behalf of the two sign language interpreters, Joe, that's Jason Manda and Chola Kaoma. Not forgetting crew. 14:30, we'll cross over to the chamber for today's live parliamentary proceeding. But before that, my two colleagues will be able to let you in on what transpired or considered on the floor of the House yesterday, before they let you in on what is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. We'll be back tomorrow for more interesting committee broadcasting on this channel. We are Parliament Television. We continue bringing Parliament closer to you. Have a lovely, lovely Wednesday.